I'm Jackie. I'm guess I'm taking over for Trimby. Small, intimate group. So if we have burning, dying questions for Nelson, we can pry him. We have a personal FAA representative. So yeah, let's just get started. And Nelson will give us a presentation on what he does and what the FAA offers, and then we will open it up for questions.
Outstanding. Thanks, Jackie. I appreciate it. Hello, everybody who's nice to make it on. Appreciate getting the opportunity to come out and talk to y'all. We were talking before we started. I tried to reach out and talk to groups all over Colorado to just let them, just for this intimate setting. There's a couple things we'll cover in the presentation, so I don't want to steal anything, but I have a short, like 6-slide presentation I go through and we talk some stuff, and then I like to open it up for a whole bunch of questions and just whatever you guys want to know specifically or generally speaking, as it were. So that's the way I usually like to do it. So it's pretty low threat kind of stuff. So let me jump in here like this and we'll go here. And y'all should be able to see my handy dandy slideshow for you guys. Like I said before, I'm Nelson Wolfmeier. I'm an Aviation Safety Inspector with the FAA. I haven't been on board for very long. I just started about 6 months ago. I was I'm from Colorado, originally graduated back a long time ago, back in '92, and kind of wandered around the colleges around town, UNC, CSU, Metro, and kind of like sampled everything we had to offer for a little while because I was that person. And I joined the Air Force and became a mechanic and been stationed all over the world, did 20 years as a mechanic. During that time, I got my private pilot up in Alaska. As you can see from my background, some flying up there. I was a neat monkey to have around because I was a mechanic and a pilot. So I did a lot of stuff like, hey, take the 182 out to Jim's Creek sandbar and get, old Bill's Super Cub off the sandbar because it's broke. So I did that a lot. I retired a couple of years back. It would have been about 2014. I retired over in Utah, and I was working for a 145 repair station. I was a CFI doing stuff on the side. I owned my own maintenance shop for a couple of years, still doing CFI work, just kind of tooling about. Woke up one day, and it was just, I was burned out on maintenance after 25 years of maintenance and threw everything away and walked out the door and became a full-time pilot. So I worked at doing CFI work. I did survey work for a company called Sanborn down out of Colorado Springs. I did some charter flying, 135 with Mountain Aviation out of Metro. I did a year at SkyWest flying around there. And eventually I settled into the FAA about 6 months ago. Yeah, it's been 6 months. Wow. 6 months ago doing this Aviation Safety Inspector gig. So up on the screen is my contact information. It's my work cell phone and my email address. If I give it out, if anybody has any questions or issues, give me a call. I don't always answer the phone. Sometimes it's a little busy and hectic, as you can imagine, in the FAA world. But if you leave me a message, I'll get back to you and try to help you out as best I can, answer any questions you have or anything like that. A little touch on on what the FAA looks like, in case anybody was curious about it. These are all of our offices, our certificate management offices, which handle the big 121 carriers, all of our general aviation offices, and where we're located throughout the country. As you can see, we hit a lot of places that are pretty popular with aviation in Seattle and LA and Atlanta, and obviously Oklahoma City and Dallas. Here in Denver, we actually have a pretty big office for both general aviation and for certificate management, as we handle Frontier. United has a little section with us. SkyWest has a little section with us. And then Key Lime and those folks were out of the Denver office also. And we're also, we're right by the airport. We're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. We're on the approach end for the 3.5s. So we're kind of hard to find. And of course, right now it doesn't even matter because no one's in the office anyway. We're all working from home. The FAA, this is kind of a flow chart. Some of this stuff I got from our FAST team, and they like us to teach you guys about, how the FAA is structured. But I'm in the FAA, and I don't really understand how it's structured that well either. So how regular people can understand it it's no better to me. But know that the FAA covers just about everything to do with air commerce, except for TSA, which falls under Department of Homeland Security, and TSA and NTSB, who handles investigations for the Department of Transportation. But ATC, all the air medical, everything you could ever do with your certificate is handled inside the FAA by somebody. We have about 5,000 plus employees in the FAA, and the biggest section of them are in flight standards, which is the Aviation Safety Department, where there's, I think, 2,000 plus people involved in it. For general aviation inspectors like myself, there's 390 of us in the FAA, which used to be kind of a problem because until about 9 months ago, nobody wanted to work for the government because you can make so much more money flying for Delta, right? So we had over 150 openings in the FAA. Until about 6 months ago, when suddenly there was no more openings in the FAA because everybody jumped ship from the airlines and started coming on board the FAA. So hence the reason in Denver, probably 90% of you have never even seen an FAA inspector on the ramp. That's because there was only one of them for the past 2 years in Denver. And he worked really, really hard, needless to say. But now we're back up to, we're authorized 10 and we're at 8 right now. So there'll be a lot more visibility from us coming out to the ramp because the most important part of my job is safety. That's all I care about at the end of the day, is safety, safety, safety. So part of that is getting bad actors to quit flying. The other part of it is talking to folks to get everybody to buy into the safety and doing everything as safe as we can. There's a couple of things. We probably don't have to go through all this stuff, but there's some interesting stuff here. If you go to FAA.gov, in the corner of some of the pages, you'll see this little envelope with a green plus sign. What you can do is subscribe to pages from the FAA and get news and notifications directly from the FAA sent to your email, just to give you another opportunity to get stuff. We post a lot of information that comes out as updates to the PTS, ACS, those things. And so you'll find this on a couple of sites on the page, interesting website pages. So the FAST team asked me to bring it up, and you can click on it, type in your email address, and you can get notifications direct from the FAA for interesting stuff. Of course, the PTS page has the latest versions of the PTS, the ACS. Why that's important is anyone who's not a student or a CFI, of course, you got to perform to those standards when you come in for your reviews and stuff like that. So it's interesting to read. The big important one that I like a lot is the FAST team. Let's see. I don't know. Can you guys see that at all, or is it stuck in PowerPoint? Jackie, can you see that? The website? No, that's all right. The FAST team, I'll just put a plug in there for that. You can go in there, register with the FAST team, and inside there's probably 1,000 hours of free training. Videos, courses, online courses you can do. Some of it will take care of the ground for your annual flight review. Some of it will take care of that for that. There's important ones on runway safety, as I'm sure Jackie can tell you all about with her stuff. FAST team has a lot of great stuff in there, and they have direct contact. They're part of aviation safety, and we have a FAST team here in Denver. They're under their own umbrella because even more so, they're a lot about education. That's their primary goal. So check out the FAST team website, and it's got really good info for everybody. And again, register. I want to say over 1,000 hours worth of videos and courses you can take for free through those folks. Runway safety. So it's not going to do us a lot of good because we can't pull up. But underneath the FAA website, and it should show an address. It's we have a new program we're putting on in there, and they actually, what they go out to is they go to an airport and they build these runway safety things. And you know what? This is what we can do. real quick, because this is kind of interesting. Tell you what, it's not going to let me. My computer's being funky. I've been on all day. So anyway, the runway safety part of it is a really neat thing. They'll go to the last one I watched was on Boise, and they actually have somebody fly into Boise with a GoPro, and they go all around the airport. They taxi around both ends of the airport, all over the entire airport, showing the hot spots and the thing. They actually have, it's a GoPro where they're just taxiing around in circles around the airport and coming into land, and some of the hazards identified there. So it's really neat to look at if you're going into an airport you're unfamiliar with, and that's kind of like the goal. They're like 6 minutes long, and they're just like, oh, you're landing on runway 10 left. These are the things to watch out for. Here are the turns and the taxiways. What's cool about it is Centennial and Metro will both have videos posted probably in the spring. They're working on them now. And I can't remember what the number is. There are probably 70 or 80 airports in this little website from the flight deck, hazards and hotspots, the FAA Runway Safety website. Again, it's in the FAA Gov part of it under airports, and you'll see runway safety. And it's really interesting and fascinating to see other airports. And if you're planning up to Boise or Vegas, Phoenix, there's a lot of them in there, and you can check and see. It's kind of neat, interesting. It actually, again, like Lincoln, some of these other airports that, not the really big ones usually, but ones that you guys, as general aviation folks, we can visit. And it's kind of cool. So if you get a chance to check it out, it's really interesting. Here's a plug here for AOPA and the Colorado Pilots Association. Along with, since I don't have to plug Women in Aviation because you guys are already there, so that saves a step. I like to plug organizations because part of what makes aviation special, right, is the camaraderie, the community that we have with each other. So I always try to plug in Women in Aviation, AOPA, Colorado Pilots Association, whoever I'm talking to, I send them to those. They're important organizations. AOPA, everybody kind of knows about. They're up in DC, and they're lobbyists for our rights as pilots, and they have a lot of good value for becoming a member and helping you out. Colorado Pilots Association is there's like 700 or 800 of them, and it's another organization that's just dedicated to making sure Colorado aviation laws are fair for us as pilots. A lot of good information out of those guys. I think, I don't remember what the cost is to be an AOPA anymore. But I mean, it's dues that we pay for everything again. So I'm sure Jackie's got some comments on that one too. And Colorado Pilots Association, I think, is $25 for the year. And again, what all that stuff is they have representation to the aviation board through the state, and it helps out to get voice heard and stuff like that. Plus, it's another good organization of just pilots who do lots of fly-ins and other stuff like that. Not to mention, we give away $10,000. I say we, sorry. Colorado Pilots Association gives away $10,000 in scholarships a year. They give out two $2,500. Actually, they give out four $2,500 scholarships, two for private pilots and two for initial CFI. And I'm going to tell you a little secret. We only had 2 people apply this year for the CFI scholarships, and they both won. So it's one of those things that's always good. The last thing is this is fairly new through the FAA. There's a grant page for anyone who wants to try to get money for mechanics. There's some pilot stuff in there too. It's kind of a newer program. It's called Aviation Workforce Development Grants. And it takes you through it, how to learn more about it and get money for certain educational programs through the FAA. So whoever your education person is through Women in Aviation, it'd be a good stop for them to take a look at. Privately, it's kind of a hard thing to get involved with, but an organization like the Colorado chapter would probably have a lot more success in getting in there and probably getting some money for some events to take a look at. Sorry, I can't bring the website up. It's just one of those things. For y'all. So there's a couple of things on here that I like to bring up too. Login time, don't worry about. That's I left that in there by accident. ADSB and third-party information. So everyone knows ADSB was mandatory as of the 1st. You'd be surprised at how many people are still not ADSB compliant. What's going to start happening now, believe it or not, the FAA has access to the third-party info for that. Before, we had no ADSB information on the FAA side. Well, now they've unlocked that, and we actually have ADSB information. So ATC can reach in and find out who you really are when you're flying around. And the new guidance kind of talks about if you've changed you can go in and manipulate your ADSB and change your tail number and your call sign and stuff like that. And as the airlines, we do it all the time. But people on the, regular pilots have figured it out. So what they'll do is they'll change their tail number. They'll change their information inside the ADSB, and they can fly around. Well, now this third-party company is giving us the ability to look at that stuff. And what can happen is we can find you anyway. Which is really, really bad if you've been altering the stuff to do it. We bring it up because actually I've seen 4 or 5 of these already this year. And these are the people who are flying 100 feet above houses, who are buzzing through Coors Field's TFR and stuff like that. They're doing the things that give pilots bad name. They're the people buzzing Boulder and getting every Coalition for Quiet Skies all riled up and stuff like that. So these are the people that we're trying to come into compliance with the FAA and with all rules, honestly. So these are kind of some of the things that we need to be aware of. And that leads directly into our complaints. As you know, everyone can just pull up FlightAware and look at where you're flying around and stuff like that. And the old 90-10 rule applies. 90% of the people aren't the problem. It's 10% of the pilots out there who bend the rules, let me put it that way. And it makes my workload a lot more, which I don't like that much. Plus, it gives aviation a bad name, and it gives these people a lot of traction to make a lot of noise and try to make a lot of rules that kind of limit our ability to fly and the great freedom that is flying around for us. So I bring that stuff up because for the same reason, anybody can look you up online. So CFIs, this is an issue for some of y'all because you're doing you want to give the best training you can, right? And you have power off, simulate engine failures, and you get what somebody considers too low. And you might hear from us because of the way they've structured the complaint system now. We have to make contact and at least talk to people, which again has increased my job by like tenfold. Whereas before, if I knew it wasn't a problem, if you were 800 feet above somebody's house in the middle of a field, I didn't care. I would just go, thanks for letting us know about the complaint. We'll keep an eye on it. And I would file it in that section of the thing. Now I have to reach out and actually talk to you and say, yes, I know you're 800 feet above the house, but we have to discuss it anyway. So it's kind of a weird spot that we're in. And the last thing I want to talk about real quick is pilot deviations, which we had a huge rise in them as COVID, just before COVID, for the past, from November of last year to March of this year. There's a lot of pilot deviations. And that's bad, but the process is not a bad process. I'm sure a lot of you heard the term kinder, gentler FAA. And that's not a very good phrase for what the new compliance philosophy is about. Before they made this compliance philosophy, the FAA had no other tools to do anything except for enforcement. So if you broke a rule, there was nothing else we could do except for bring an enforcement action against you and suspend your certificate or do other things that were not very fun. Well, now they gave us this compliance philosophy, and it's much easier now. We can find out why we broke a rule or flew into the Bravo airspace or made a mistake, and the FAA realizes, hey, people make mistakes, it happens. So now we don't have to bring the proverbial hammer down on somebody just because they made a mistake. The reason I bring all that up is if you have a pilot deviation and the tower tells you to call, just give them a call. I know that there's a lot of, the AOPA is one of the organizations that don't talk to anybody ever until you talk to somebody else. I'm going to say that is your rights to do that. But at the same time, I know that there's a good percentage of pilot deviations that are thrown out before they even get to the FAA because the process works something like ATC notices something wrong. They don't decide if it's a violation or not. They send it to the FAA. They get to play good cop, bad cop, kind of. And so I have to be the bad guy who looks at it and determines, yes, this person, crossed the hold short line at Metro. Again, the whole point of the story is if you have to make that phone call, know that if you're legal and, current to fly, it's not a bad process to go through. I handle 60 or 65 deviations in the 6 months I've been here. And I can promise you that only one has led to any kind of enforcement action. If you're current and you're doing nothing else wrong and you make a simple mistake, you misunderstood the taxi clearance, or you weren't paying attention and you flew into the Bravo at 7,500 feet when the shelf was 7,000, all you have to be is able to work with me, and we'll get you through the whole thing without being any enforcement action taken against you. Being violated is really what the term is. You won't be violated for it. So that's my little soapbox spiel on that. So once again, this is my number, my information. If you have anything, come across a weird thing. I got a phone call a little bit ago from a CFI who I'd helped out a couple months ago, and she called and asked a couple of questions about foreign pilot certificates. And I was able to help her out a little bit with that. But it's an open opportunity, which doesn't happen a lot, not gonna lie, to just reach out and touch somebody inside the agency. Again, the goal is now that we're more properly staffed to be a little more visible, because it alleviates a big fear of the FAA, because nobody wants to see somebody walk up to their airplane right after they land. But I can promise you it's not a big deal, because I've been ramp checked, I don't know, 5 or 6 times in my life, never in Colorado, but hopefully that'll change. And we come out and we just want to make contact with people for the most part. It's not all that bad of a deal, honestly. So there we go. That is the quick down and dirty 20-minute spiel about kind of what the FAA is about and what we're here for. Again, the number one thing that we're here for, and every inspector will tell you the same thing, is safety. That is where I don't want to say the only thing I care about, but that's what I care about. So when we do something wrong, pilot deviation is a classic example. I just want to make sure that either do you know you did something wrong? And most people are like, yes, I know I'm not supposed to cross the hold short line. That's great. I just want to make sure it doesn't happen again, or if I can give you some kind of tools to help you go get to come to grips with that or something like that. I've talked to CFIs and they're like, oh, wasn't paying attention, and we've worked through those kind of things before. So that's what I want more than anything, is for the people to understand that I'm not there to hammer you. When I walk up to you on the ramp and I want to do a ramp check on you and I want to look at your certificates and stuff like that, it's just because I want to make sure you're safe and doing things correctly. I have no desire at all to do extra paperwork, which is what an enforcement action would take. All I want to do is make sure that you're safe and doing what you are, and to make contact and tell you a little bit about why we're here at the end of the day. Why is the FAA here? Why do we do what we do? So that's the end.